So it's now my great pleasure to invite Molly Meyer to the stage to present Openlands Conservation Leadership Award for 2018. Molly has been a valued member of Openlands Board since 2016. It seems much longer because she's had great impact. She's the founder of Omni Ecosystems, which brings natural, thriving ecosystems into cities and onto buildings. Her climate-resilient rooftop projects can be found as close as Studio Gang Architects here in Chicago or as far away as Harvard Business School. Molly clearly understands the challenges and opportunities of nature-based solutions to climate change and is emerging as a very strong national leader. Molly.
Thank you, Jerry. I'm Molly Meyer, and I'm honored today to be presenting the Openlands Conservation Leadership Award, which celebrates tremendous contributions by individuals, groups, organizations, or agencies to advancing conservation, both in our region and beyond. The Comer Family Foundation was created in 1986 with grant-making programs focused on the city of Chicago and syringe exchange programs nationwide. We Chicagoans are familiar with the University of Chicago Medicine Comer Children's Hospital and the Gary Comer Youth Center. In addition to supporting amazing work in Chicago, the Comer Family Foundation has been at the forefront of studying the effects of climate change for over 20 years. The foundation provides direct support to scientists who seek a deeper understanding of Earth's climate. These scientists, known as Comer Fellows, travel to mountain glaciers, drylands, Greenland, and other remote sites to understand the history of climate change in order to inform the future. Additionally, through the Medill Comer Scholars Program, a partnership with Medill School of Journalism at Northwestern University, the Comer Family Foundation empowers students who are committed to environmental journalism. Openlands acknowledges the Comer Family Foundation for its groundbreaking work as a global leader based right here in Chicago. It's my great pleasure to welcome Stephanie Comer to the stage to accept the award on behalf of the Comer Family Foundation. The award itself is a work from acclaimed artist Alice Hargrave. It is an abstracted portrait of Snowy Owl from her Last Call series, depicting the most threatened and endangered bird species in the world.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. I just heard that we can see snowy owls actually right here in the city of Chicago near McCormick Place, so I am going to do that with some of the Openlands folks. So I'm going to kick it old school and do a slideshow for you today. Good afternoon. Thank you to everyone at Openlands for this recognition, in particular Jerry ADELMANN and Board of Directors Chair Carrie McNally. It's an honor to celebrate the mission of this great organization alongside Indy Burke. Her scientific accomplishments, teaching, and leadership will help us navigate climate change and our challenged ecosystems. Let me tell you a true story. In May of 1845, Sir John Franklin and a crew of 129 left the comforts of England to find the fabled Northwest Passage, the route across the top of the Arctic, a shortcut from the Atlantic to the Pacific. The British Admiralty had been optimistic and thought the expedition would take a year. Indeed, Franklin's two ships, the Erebus and the Terror, were upgraded with the latest technology: a double hull, steam engines, and screw propellers. Provisions included over 8,000 tins of preserved meat, 5,000 gallons of ale and porter, close to 3,000 books, a dog, a cat, and a monkey named Jacko. Franklin and his crew were spotted 3 months after their departure entering Baffin Bay. And from missives left in metal containers, we know they headed south, were beset in ice off King William Island, and later forced to abandon ship. They were never seen again. In 1847, after 2 years of silence, the first of 30 search parties ventured after them. And this is a painting of ships tasked with finding Franklin. Ice cores from the area tell us that during this time, geologically known as Little Ice Age, summers were consistently colder and unfavorable. Today, it is generally accepted that the frigid climate doomed these early explorers. Excuse me. About 100 years after Franklin's expedition, my dad, Gary Comer, was a teenager growing up during the Depression on the South Side. He often wandered down to Jackson Harbor looking for work as a bottom sander and scrubber, and soon made friends with people who taught him how to sail. He became pretty good at it, and he loved it enough to borrow some money from a fellow sailor to start a business selling boat parts through mail order. That's me in our living room, gazing out on an early Land's End catalog. And this is what you do when you don't have a garage. My dad worked hard and had a lot of luck, but he also attributed some of his success to sailing, knowing how to read the wind and change tacks at the right time. Having his own business eventually led to a boat named Turmoil. All of his boats were named Turmoil. And in his words, the desire to see what was at the end of Lake Michigan and then what was on the other side of Lake Superior and across the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Whenever I could join him, I would. In the summer of 2001, we were aboard Turmoil in Greenland studying the latest Canadian ice service charts. Ice was a concern because Turmoil had an aluminum hull, and much like a Coke can, it could easily crush. Here is a chart of the passage when we began. The red is ice. And here is the passage less than a month later as we finished our voyage. So as you can see, the ice had melted to the point where the Northwest Passage was relatively clear. As we crossed into Baffin Bay, the same waters that Franklin sailed, we did what we shouldn't have been able to do. We traversed the Northwest Passage with ease. Something was wrong. And just to give you an idea, this is what it looked like for 21 days straight. When we returned home, my dad Googled global warming and reached out to the scientists that appeared in those first hits. This was the start of a program now in its 16th year supporting scientists researching climate change. Our Earth has a history of naturally warming and cooling, and by studying the past, these scientists can understand how the Earth system operates and make predictions about our future. Today, we fund over 80 researchers focusing on Greenland glaciers, our oceans and drylands, with the goal that if you support science, smart policy follows. As most of you know, the IPCC released its 6th assessment report last week. Many of you have been talking about that. We are a world confronted with the devastating realities of a warming planet. Climate change is the greatest foreseeable threat to humanity's security and stability. So I think it's important to highlight the people and organizations working together towards solutions. A couple summers ago, my son and I tagged along with Aaron Putnam, a professor from the University of Maine during his fieldwork in China along the Tibetan border. That's my son, Luca, in the fake Ray-Bans. We spent 2 weeks collecting rock samples at the foot of a receding glacier. In Southeast Asia, melt from glaciers provide water for 1.5 billion people. It's estimated that supply will decrease 1/3 by the year 2100. What struck with me was that this was a joint Chinese-American mission. The University of Maine, in conjunction with the Institute of Earth Environment, part of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, opposite sides of the planet, politically and culturally, and yet brought together by climate change. In fact, the Chinese Academy of Sciences has committed to funding half of Aaron's work for the next several years. And just to reiterate the spirit of cooperation, Luca and I are car campers. And so as soon as we pulled out our paper instructions for our tent, this happened. It was up in a second. The past 2 years, a student reporter from the Medill School of Journalism has accompanied Aaron, and most exciting, a student from Gary Comer College Prep has joined each trip. Maya Sheriff was the student scientist on our trip, and these are her words. I had an experience of a lifetime. I never thought in a million years that I would walk and climb mountains, let alone mountains in China. I learned about how global warming is getting worse and how it can be related to many problems the world is battling now. I learned I'm not only an intelligent young woman, but a strong one. After this trip, Maya presented her research at the annual conference at the American Geophysical Union, attended by over 20,000 scientists, and today Maya is a sophomore at Kalamazoo College studying electrical engineering. Our shared future will require friendships, partnerships, and alliances like these inside and outside our communities, and this is why I'm thrilled to talk about Openlands. A few weeks ago, our office volunteered to weed and mulch at the Gonzales Scholastic Academy in Brighton Park. This is one of Openlands' Space to Grow schools, like Jerry was talking about, a partnership with Healthy Schools campaign to transform Chicago schoolyards into vibrant spaces to address flooding, but also to play, to learn, and to be outside. My friend is a teacher at Gonzales, and she said that before Openlands, the space was dirt and mud when it rained. Today, they boast fresh vegetables, a garden club, neighborhood yoga, and most recently, a group of students went to Vermont to work on a farm for a week. Openlands supports these transformations in communities across Chicago through programs like this, and including Birds in My Neighborhood and Tree Keepers. Our lives are infinitely richer and healthier when we are connected to each other and to nature. And I believe when these connections start in communities, it's possible to change the country. Openlands embodies the sea change we need by engaging neighborhoods, protecting and preserving our air, water, and land, and advocating for environmentally sound policies. I'm proud to say that Openlands plays a leadership role in supporting the Chicago Climate Charter, which represents more than 50 cities and millions of people to address climate change as outlined in the Paris Agreement. Let's join Openlands and support a common vision for a vibrant world made stronger and more resilient through actions and solutions. The challenges are immense, but the opportunities are vast. Thank you.
Congratulations to the Comer Family Foundation, and good afternoon to all of you. I'm Brooke Hecht, the president of the Center for Humans and Nature, and it's my great pleasure to work closely with Openlands and with Jerry ADELMANN, who chairs the Center's board of directors. I feel tremendously lucky to have had Jerry as a mentor and a colleague at the Center for the last 10 years. And today, I want to especially congratulate Jerry on his 30-year anniversary here at Openlands. For 5.5 decades, Openlands has worked to ensure that our growing region includes green space as big as a national wildlife refuge and as small as a schoolyard garden. For 30 of those years, Jerry has given endless hours of time and energy to Openlands, ensuring that the people in this great urban center are connected with nature. Thank you so much, Jerry. Openlands' legacy of commitment and success inspires both me and my husband to be proud supporters of this wonderful organization. And I would like to ask you to consider joining us by making a contribution today. They've made it easy for you. There are blue envelopes on your table in your program, and those will be collected after the event. I make my investment in Openlands now thinking of the next 30 years, thinking of even the next 5.5 decades. In 55 years, it'll be 2073. And I think about what are the hopes and the dreams we have for our homes, for our region, and for our planet then. I know that through the work of Openlands, our region will be greener, cleaner, healthier, more resilient. So thank you for considering supporting Openlands' great efforts.